Hello, everybody, and welcome back to an exciting and soon-to-be classic edition of Homestead Friends. And I got to tell you what, I am super jazzed to be here with Julianne, the Dirtpatcheaven rock star. Yay! How are you doing this afternoon, ma'am?
We're freezing to death. We're in the 20s today.
Oh 20s? My gosh.
I'm actually sweating, and I think it's literally like only 75.
Yeah, it got up to I think it was 75 today. Yeah.
Outside?
Yeah.
Well, not inside, but you know, you're out working around or whatever, and it was just a jarring day where it was like, ugh, this is not winter anymore.
All the kids were asking, "Can we swim in the kiddie pool?"
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So what's new in your neck of the woods, sister?
What are we doing?
What is new in your neck of the woods?
Let's see. We had piglets that escaped the other day into our neighbor's enormous pasture, and we got to go out and harvest a couple piglets, kind of impromptu. But it was amazing. I had never butchered pigs before, and it was so straightforward and easy that I was just like, hey, we can do this again. Let's try for bigger pigs next time.
Wow. So did you give it a chase at first to think, well, we're going to get them back?
Yeah, they were headed for open country, and the only thing between them and open country and a road was my neighbor. I called the neighbor and said, could you come out and shoot my pigs, please?
That's not exactly the normal conversation you have with neighbors.
Well, no, and I was covered from head to toe in soot. Usually John is up on the roof cleaning out the chimney, but he can't move very well. And I had been up cleaning the chimney, so my face was completely black. My teeth were black, and I walk up to my neighbor and say, "Can you shoot my pigs?" And he looked at me like, "Who are you?"
Why does Mary Poppins want me to come murder her pigs?
Yeah, it was that bizarre. It was bizarre.
That is awesome.
That's
so. Yeah. So as we get started, I came prepared, sister. We got stuff. Now, okay, let's start out like this. This should be softball question, I think. Define what it is for you to be a homesteader.
I guess for me it's a mindset to look around and see what can I do that my family shouldn't have to pay for. For me, it's just about the skills. If your family is vegetarian, you don't need to learn how to butcher. If your family eats a lot of meat, you don't need to know how to make bread. What is it that you can do in your family that is a skill that eliminates your need for money, I guess, is my, and maybe that's silly, but if somebody doesn't grow a garden, but they have carpentry skills and can build their own house, they're a homesteader. I just, it's about the skills.
Wow. Now, shifting gears just a smidge, because I know that you are a homeschool mom. And, well, what is your biggest challenge during that homeschooling part of the day?
That I have to be physically present. It's not something, Christa, can you hand your child a book and be like, okay, when I come back in half an hour? You're not.
It depends on the kid. Okay. If it were Claire, then here you go for it. But for
Jonathan,
no, not Jonathan. No, I kind of have to hand feed it to him. But yeah, it's.
And there's a good deal of tasers and NyQuil involved. So not really.
There's really not.
Really. But they're a lot calmer, but not really.
No, they're really not. I think it jacks them up.
See, now we're gonna get CPS calling.
No. There's no tasers, no NyQuil. I don't even buy NyQuil.
No.
Ugh.
Right.
What's one of your biggest rewards, in the homeschooling process?
To watch them think through a project, to have a desire to do something, and then have the space and time to focus on it long enough to figure out for themselves. They don't have to come to me and say, "Mom, I'm bored. Mom, I don't have anything to do." Instead, they will have seen some random thing completely independent of me, and they will find a tool that is completely inappropriate and too expensive for them to use and destroy it, building this thing that they really want to build.
Here, do it with this, right?
Yeah.
So now, how much time does it take you to do homeschooling, and how many kids do you homeschool?
We have the 2 girls. Paige is 9 and Kaya is 7. And it takes me, for Kaya, she's extremely motivated if we let her watch like a 6-minute movie after she's done with her school. So she'll be done with her school in like 45 minutes. And it's not a small amount of school. With Paige, it can be 4 hours. Should she be able to do it in 2 hours? She should be able to do it in 2 hours. But depending on her motivation for the day, she's not easily motivated, and it can drag on until Dad gets home from work, back when Dad used to get home from work. So that it depends on the child.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Oh yeah, we know all about that. We've got some kids that'll just take, just a short amount of time, and then others it's hours, and there's come on guys, it doesn't need to take that long. Yeah.
I will say, though, the flexibility that homeschooling affords you is really, really priceless. And for me, just my perspective, because Mama does most of it, I am sadly very little involved in it, just because she's here during the day and I work, and so she's got the lion's share of it. But what I really, really like is the fact that they're taught critical thinking. Mm-hmm. They're not just sitting and learning, memorize this, memorize this, memorize this. They're learning to ask why and how it works and why does it work.
Right.
And those skills that, well, I think are absolutely critical for real life.
Right.
I mean, you can memorize facts all day long, but you're going to be useless if you're in a situation where you have to figure it out.
Right.
Well, it teaches you what you really love. It teaches you, okay, this child is so good at this. Instead of having my child who is a dancer saying, well, I think you should be an accountant because that's where the money is. I listened to a sermon the other day. I don't remember who it was, but it was like a podcast sermon, and he was talking about God's gifts. And he says, if God has given your child a gift, it is, if you want them to be happy in life, allow them to follow that gift that God has given them. It's like the parable of the talents.
Mm-hmm.
God gave you this thing, and you can multiply it. But if it's when you bury it in the ground that your life kind of atrophies and you stop growing spiritually, and you just stop growing. And so the beauty of homeschool is that you can see those strengths, you can build those strengths, and the child can choose and say, do I want to be a self-motivator who can get school done in 45 minutes so I can go do the beautiful things I want to do? Or do I want to drag my feet so that life becomes a burden? And it allows you to tweak and help them find God's gifts that he's put in their life.
Oh, I totally agree with that. It does give them, they can take as long as they want to do their schoolwork and then follow their passion. Our 2 older boys, David has followed his passion into carpentry. Jonathan has gone straight into mechanics. I mean, he has always had this passion.
He's a tinkerer.
He's always done it, taking apart DVD players, figuring out how they work, and making them work with a 9-volt battery. It just boggles my mind.
Yeah, it's funny because he'll just show up with something that I threw away because it was broken, and he'll be like, check this out. And it's like a working something that wasn't even that.
Right. It was something completely different. It's fascinating just to watch them bloom in what they love. Yeah.
And a buddy of mine in ministry, he had a kind of sermonette kind of thing, and he would always say, bloom where you're planted. Mm-hmm. And he would combine that with fish swim and birds fly. Mm-hmm. And if you're a fish, why are you trying to act like a bird? And I think that the education system today makes this box that they have to fit everybody in, and you have to have every little attribute of what it takes to make it in the box, when the reality is you might be a bird instead of a fish. And I think that homeschooling really allows that child to just bloom and grow.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to go anywhere any different. I want to stick with homeschooling with all of the kids and just see the path that they go on. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, well, switching gears just a little bit to, let's talk about food storage. Mama, you've got a question on food storage.
Well, I wanted to find out how much, I know you store things, but I wanted to know how much of that food storage do you grow yourself?
Everything that is fresh, at least in season. So we grow all of our own meat. So we don't buy meat from the grocery store. and we grow our own dairy with the kind of, we don't do a lot of cheese because I don't have anywhere to store it. And when we have a lot of milk during the year, do we make cheese? Yes, we do. But do we have the potential for it? We do. Have we done it? Yes. But depending on what our budget is for the year and how much time I have, that's how far I go into like the cheese and that kind of thing. So mostly, you know, during the spring and summer, we grow a lot of our own vegetables. And right now, our fruit bushes that we planted when we first moved here are starting to come on. So all our fruit that our kids go out and glean during the year, we don't have to buy a lot of fruit and vegetables during the year. Awesome. So seasonal, you know, if I could get my seasons worked out, we could grow everything. But it's all about seasons and how much time do you have when you're a homeschooling mom and that kind of thing. So, yeah, and then you have YouTube on top and it's crazy.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Wow, that's really awesome. Well, that you answered the question about meat.
Now, but I've got a question to add on to that, because you're on a pretty limited amount of space. Are you saying you raise cows too?
We have.
Wow, on an acre and a half?
Yeah.
You must have very tolerant neighbors.
Well, we even had our cow in our backyard. We had a miniature cow, like in VeggieTales when they sing about the zebu.
Oh, yeah.
We had a zebu, and she had been bred to a low-line Angus, and so we kept our cow in our actual backyard, and she fertilized one spot that grew the best tomatoes the next year. It was just amazing. Wow. And we ate her calf when he was big enough to be butchered, and that meat lasted us for like a year and a half. It was because we had so much variety. We don't just butcher one thing. We always have, when we butcher a pig, we get a lamb. When we butcher a lamb, we get a pig, so that there's always something in the rotation.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Not sick of one thing. I get it. That's awesome.
Well, now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, they all eat something different, and so you can get their feed cheaper at certain times of the year and store it, so that sometimes everything is inexpensive. You buy it at the inexpensive time to feed it in the lean times, so that, you know, I spend $85 a year to feed my chickens. That's all I spend for all my chickens, all my poultry, the grain for my goats, $85 a year.
Yeah,
I get it at a feed mill.
We got to chat, because I'm the guy going, you just bought feed. What are you doing? You just bought feed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, but you get it in a cycle where you get it on sale because it's not in season, right?
And we never buy it retail. We don't buy anything retail. We do not go to a feed store. We go to a grain mill to get our grain. We go to the farmer to get our hay. And because we get it directly from the source, like we get a 50-pound bag of grain for $4, okay? And we get our hay for, you know, right now it's inexpensive. It used to be $200 a ton, but right now it's $145 a ton. So we buy 5 tons when it's cheap. We tarp it. We get our tarps from somebody who's throwing them away. And it's all about, and then in the fall, we buy pickup loads of pumpkins that we feed to the chickens, we feed them to the goats, we feed them to the pigs, we eat them ourselves. And so it's about your seasonality of when you are going to be buying your feed.
Well, that's awesome. And going back, you had just kind of in passing mentioned that you do a yearly budget. Is that pretty consistent? You guys can map your spending out that accurately through a whole year?
For our animals, it is. We know what season a certain amount of food is going to cost. So, say for instance, it's a time of year when we know that we're going to be buying hay, and it'll be the time of year that we're selling goat kids for a good amount of money. So that money will then go towards hay. So the goats just paid for their own hay for the year, and we store it in a way that we know it's off the ground. We put it on pallets instead of straight on the ground, so that if we have any kind of flooding, it doesn't soak up into the hay. We tarp it. And we store all of our feed. We buy it just as it comes in from the field, and we get it bagged. And then, like right now, I have almost 3 years worth of grain storage for my poultry in my garage.
Wow.
Because we didn't go through it all this year. So we have more than we need.
Wow.
It just, if you can find it cheap enough, I mean, you just store it like you would your regular food storage.
So now, if you had any one addition to add to your homestead situation where you're at? Maybe it's a tractor, maybe it's a tiller. If you had any one item that you could have, if the homestead fairy just flew down and said, "I grant you this homestead wish," what would it be?
It would be, we have a watering system that I finally figured out how to do it, but it means that all the money I've already spent on it, it needs to be redone, because I water with, it's like gray water, because it's going just to fruit trees. It's from the canal, so it has particulates and nastiness in it. So I finally figured out how to do it. So it's a drip line that comes from the canal, but the hose is I've already purchased it and I ruined it. Learning how to do it, I ruined the hose I already have. So setting up my drip line from our dirty canal water is my big project for this year.
So any angel investor type person out there in YouTube world who happens to be an irrigation specialist, you know where to get her. Speaking of that, how long do you spend on YouTube during a day? Whether it's filming or answering people's questions or emails or the gaggle of people that are trying to get you on a TV show across the seas.
Right.
That happens to everybody.
Well, right, it does. All the crazies come out of the corners. I knit for my Etsy store, and so because I do that, I have a certain number of hours in a day where I have to be sitting, so I might as well be doing research on YouTube. And so it depends. Usually it's about 2 hours a day that I'm actually on YouTube itself. The rest of the time I'm filming or editing or answering. Oh, I don't know. Lately it's been mind-boggling, the amount of time that I spend doing this kind of thing. It's mind-boggling.
Well, and you know what? It's funny. Well, it's funny too because I have the benefit of having a production background. So for me to edit a video that looks pretty complex, it's a matter of me just going click, 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 click. But I understand that's a challenge for a lot of people. And I look at a guy like Wrangler Star's channel and I go, holy smokes, he must have people working with him, because to do those projects like he does with the woodworking and all of his stuff, I know how long that takes, and that is time consuming.
Oh yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
So, okay, question from left field. Are you ready for another one?
Yes.
He's good at that.
All right, now, if money was no object at all, if money was not even a question, what would you do?
Exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah?
Yeah. Me too.
So you're there. You've gotten the dream. Yeah. You've won the lotto.
I've won the lotto. For me right now, it's that this is the thing that makes me a little bit teary at this point, is that for me, you guys already know that my husband's out of work. So every penny that comes in right now is something I'm bringing in from YouTube. And so for me, I'm already living my dream, doing what I want to do, but the security of my family, it's really scary to depend on YouTube for the security of your family, to pay for like insurance and to pay for the mortgage and that kind of thing. And so the only thing that I would change is, this sounds really selfish, but it's the money that's coming in. If the money that was coming in was equal to the amount of labor that comes in, so that I felt like my family was a little more secure, that would be the only thing I would ask more, because I love having my husband home. He's the one doing the homeschooling right now. He's cooking. Listen, Christa, he's cooking the meals.
Okay, what? Wait a minute. Time out. I would say 90% of the time he cooks.
Oh, give me a high five then, Dad. That's
yeah, but I will say, in all honesty, I have got the sweetest deal ever, because I get to roll in there and make a huge mess, and I don't have to clean it up.
Yeah.
I love that. That's the best deal ever.
Heck yeah.
That is awesome.
So, all right, as we're getting ready to wind up for tonight, another random question. If you could travel anywhere in the world for a vacation with your family or alone, whatever, where would you go?
Danny and Wanda's.
Ah, yay! Well done, well played. Awesome. Your sub count just went whoop.
Right.
Absolutely. They kind of feel like they're like our aunt and uncle that we've just never met yet in person.
Right, yeah. Right. They're so.
I love them.
So, all right, well, kids, everybody watching, if you don't know, if you're one of the 3 people on the internet who does not know Dirtpatcheaven, you need to go over there right now. Actually, just shut this video off
And just
and go over there, check it out, and subscribe. You will not regret it. Julianne is an awesome person. You will learn a ton. You know, we've only been doing this a short amount of time for about a year, and you've been doing it just a little bit longer than we have. But I remember watching your videos when we had no desire to do YouTube at all.
Oh yeah.
And they were awful. You were probably like, oh my gosh,
there's so much information in there.
Oh yeah, no kidding. I love watching you working with your goats, and I've learned a ton from you working with your goats. So
yeah, so if you have not already subscribed to Dirtpatcheaven, please do that. You're not going to regret it. It's awesome channel with a lot of great information.
Yep.
So I'm Brad.
I'm Christa.
And Julianne.
And Julie.
What? You guys have an awesome day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.